Okay, I'm going to shut up for the rest of the time. I appreciate our guest joining us. His book is Dear Leader, speaking of economic control and slavery, the unauthorized biography of Kim Jong-un, the son of Kim Jong-il, who, again, is the third-generation hereditary dictator of the communist hellhole. And I think you should give it to all your liberal friends so they can learn about the wonders of this. But we just saw Mr. Warmbier die of injuries sustained there. But the democracy of North Korea, as they call it, they claim that had nothing to do with their custody, that he died on the or got brain damage on the flight over. So joining us, of course, they would never lie, Michael Malice, best-selling author. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Alex. I have nothing to say about lizard penis, unfortunately. I can't speak on that.
Well, it was in the AP. Did you see it?
No.
Yeah, they're like smuggling it in. People see it as a drug. And so there was a big SWAT team raid over it, and I reported it, and just people think I'm making that up.
What I want as a supplement is to teach me how to have a better voice like yours, because I think I'm too high, and I want a little more.
No, you don't want one. My voice is shot, is what's happened. Hey, seriously, we've got a few minutes to break, but I want you to have the floor here. Tell us about the Dear Leader. I mean, what is the essence of North Korea and our Dear Leader?
North Korea practices what they preach, by which I mean they think human life does not matter except as a function of the government. Your entire life has to be at the leader's behest. They explicitly say the leader gives the citizens socio-political life. So human beings don't matter. So you see this not only with Otto Warmbier, who was a very tragic story and was very clearly a murderer, but you saw this in the 90s when they allowed 1 to 2 million of their own population to starve rather than let the government lose their control of power. So these people are, we're blessed in this country because I think a lot of people, I was born in the Soviet Union, a lot of people don't realize how bad governments can be. They think it's income taxes or they think it's, something like Bloomberg stuff. It's not. It can get so bad, and we're so used to it being so good here that we get oblivious. Being born in the Soviet Union, we had the KGB, and now we have the NSA. What's the difference? It's the same exact thing. When you were in Russia, people would listen to your phone calls and read your mail, and now we brought it in, and it's the Republicans who did it. So it's just really, really sad to see what's happening in this country in many ways.
And to be clear, he's the Dear Leader, but your book is Dear Reader. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. Yeah. No, well, right. So, North Korea is really, if people want to understand just how bad government can be, this is how it's been for 70 years with this country and these poor people.
Is North Korea the most evil country on earth?
Without a question of a doubt. They have concentration camps. You can see the concentration camps on Google Earth. There's 100, 200,000 people in them right now. And I know after the break we could talk at length, but there's levels of hell that we can't even imagine. So whenever you see the media reporting on how funny they are, this is a country of hostages where everyone has a gun to the back of their head at all times. And if someone put a gun to the back of your head, Alex, or mine, you would do some wacky stuff too, just to keep yourself and your family alive.
That's right, like crying for 3 days when the Dear Leader dies.
Yes.
Michael Malice, expert on the Democratic Republic of North Korea. It's as democratic as our Democratic Party. It wants war, it wants death, it wants slaves, it wants total control as the priest of power stomping on a human face forever. Michael Malice is our guest. I don't know where to begin. He's the expert on North Korea, written the unauthorized biography that's been hailed, Dear Reader, about the Dear Leader. This is a short segment, long segment coming up to flesh this out. But what about the left celebrating Mao, celebrating North Korea, celebrating China, celebrating the most oppressive forms of this? Rallies just last weekend in Austin with communists with their AK-47s out, semi-autos saying, they want to kill everybody, and then saying they want to be like North Korea, they want to be like China. It's just the most ridiculous joke ever. It's like saying they want to go to hell instead of Valhalla. What is it like for you to be an expert on this and then see the left in love with this?
Well, I'm a kind-hearted guy despite my name, and I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. And I genuinely think, for the most part, once people understand what North Korea is really like, they will realize this is complete hell on earth, like you said. This is not aspirational for anyone. And that's the reason I wrote the book, because the media gets it wrong so often. They like to portray North Korea as this carnival, as a sideshow, as this wacky kind of country where everyone gets along and everything's nice. And I'm like,
they only show the parades and things and say, look at these funny people.
It's like Disney World, right? Like, hey, who doesn't like a parade, right, Alex? Like, hey, parades all day. It's not parades all day. These are, like the Bataan Death March. So I said, the books out there were either too depressing or too scholarly. I said, there's got to be a book where you can read and in an entertaining way understand what is going on there and understand behind this facade of, having a good time and it's this, military superpower, they're really the worst place on earth, and it didn't happen overnight. It took 70 years for this family, the Kim family, to build the walls that are oppressing these people. And
I love how the leadership's all fat and everybody else is starving to death. It's so archetypal.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like they choose who gets food based on their loyalty to the regime. We can get into that system after the break. I don't have much time. But yeah, there's so many levels to how they control the people. It's not just the telephones. It's not just the television. It's not just the education system. It's just so stacked and so covered that it seems your heart just has to break for the North Korean people. My heart does break. My sister's Korean, adopted. She was, the South is a lot better than the North, but has its own problems. If somebody is born out of wedlock, it's seen as a ghost child, basically thrown on the side of the road to starve to death. And so, I have a connection to Korea, and I've talked to family that's been in the military over there, but they talk about the North, where the entertainment is torturing and raping people and killing people's children in front of them, and the forced labor camps. And you look at the demonic look in the soldiers' eyes. I see the same look in the Democrats' eyes. I'm not kidding. For them, it's about dominating other people. I can't go as far as that, because if I had to choose between Hillary Clinton and Kim Jong-un, this would not be a hard choice. But I think a lot of times when people have the wrong convictions, and it becomes a slippery slope, and that's the real concern. I don't know. If you look at the evil eyes of Hillary and stealing 97% of the Haitian money and all the bad things she's been involved in, I think she's a Kim Jong-un. I just think she can't get that much, evil done here. Well, she's not that charismatic, so there's already one big difference, huh? And she couldn't win an election like he did. That's right. Oh, yes, he has elections. Well, you've got the greatest hits of this. What folks need to know. Let's start running through North Korea, what it really is and where it's going. Yeah, so let's talk about the levels of control that they have. So everyone in North Korea, everyone is slotted into some group: your school, your neighborhood, your office. And once a week, people ask, why don't they have a rebellion? Why don't they revolt? Well, once a week, you have to get together with your school or your office, your neighborhood, and you have to get up and say, this is what I did wrong this week. And then your peers have to get up and denounce you. And you'd better have something to say. So everyone in the country is constantly spying on everyone else, and it's been this way since the 70s. Now, if you're looking for something to say about somebody else and they start plotting against the government, well, that's the first thing you're going to report them on. So right away, they have a mechanism to make sure people can't get together and collude against the government. So that's something we can't. And that's just like modern political correctness, where everyone's guilty and you must announce you're guilty and you must say you're guilty to be accepted. Yes, right. That's exactly right. So another thing that they have is in the 50s and for, there are several iterations over the decades, and I get into this in my book, they had something called the Understanding People Project. Now, Alex, you know perfectly well that these dictatorships always have nice, sunshiny names to these horrible things that they do. It's never like concentration camp. It's like Camp Fun, right? So what is the Understanding People Project? They interviewed everyone in the country, everyone, and they asked them about the family background. There were good people who fought with the great leader Kim Il-sung, people who were communists. There were bad people. Did you have a priest in your family? Were you a landlord? Based on this, your family was assigned a Sungbun score, which is like a credit score, and you're divided into the loyal caste, the wavering, or the hostile. And this determines everything about your life: where you live, whether you can go to college, who you marry. So simply due to the circumstances of your birth, and which is a complete repudiation of communist ideology, every aspect of your life is determined by your family members and what they did over the last 50 years. Yeah, so it's a total caste system. Yes. And then what your family background is, if you're sent to a re-education camp, then that decides how much food you get, what jobs you have. Right. Unbelievable. And this is what the left hails and thinks is cute and funny. And they also promote China and think it's cute and funny. An expert on North Korea is our guest. Stay with us. The book is Dear Reader, about the Dear Leader. I want to get him back for a full hour sometime to just go over the psychology of Kim Jong-un, because he went to school in Switzerland, and then he comes back, and then his older brother runs off to go to Disney World, and then they end up poisoning him. How do you live in Switzerland? Beautiful. Tons of food. People being nice to you, and then go back and oppress your own people. So is he really in control? Is it China that's in control? Is it the military? We hear a lot of stuff. The word is it's the military there. China's been trying to exert control. I'm not defending China, but we're going to get the expert. I mean, he's hailed as one of the top experts, best-selling author, ghostwrites a lot of the big, top, political books you see out there with Fox News hosts that have put out. Very prolific. Michael Malice.
Follow him on Twitter at Michael Malice. Give us the most important info about North Korea, where it's going, Kim Jong-un, what you think he's going to do, who's really in control.
Kim Jong-un is unquestionably in control. So the leadership and the regime are people who are there not because of their intelligence or their skill, but because of their loyalty. As we talked before the break, since everyone is always spying on everyone else, this weeds out disloyal people. And at the very top, you just get these absolute bootlickers, which is good because you don't want smart people at the top. You want people who don't know what they're doing because that will give you a great chance to neutralize the regime. And they are starting to freak out. So North Korea, in many ways, is a religious culture. They've made a religion of Juche, of their leaders. They idolize them and regard them as supernatural. And they have their own version of the 10 Commandments. And the 10th commandment says something like, the leadership of the revolution shall be fulfilled through the generation until the end. What that means is only a descendant of the founder of North Korea, the great leader Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-un's grandfather, can be a leader. So that's why Kim Jong-un killed his older brother, Kim Jong-nam, because if you take out his older brother, he's safe. You don't have a plan B. So this was very much an insurance policy and a demonstration that he's starting to get scared of his hold on power.
Keep going, brother.
Well, I mean, and thankfully, I know neither of us are fans of China, to put it mildly. The fact that the Chinese met with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago, the fact that the Chinese are publicly turning their back on North Korea and condemning them, this is very good news. Look, China has to defend a lot of their crap. They don't want an American ally on their border. They don't want 24 million North Korean refugees who don't speak Chinese crossing the Tumen River and setting up camp in Manchuria. At the same time, China is trying to pass itself as respectable, as decent on the world stage. It's impossible to defend a college kid coming to your country, welcomed. He didn't sneak in. He was welcomed by the government as a tourist, and now he winds up dead. No one can defend this with a straight face, and this is why North Korea is starting to get very scared.
They're now saying that Mr. Warmbier was never tortured in custody.
I think that's plausible, and here's why. I was in the same hotel as him. I stayed on the same floor. He was not a prisoner. He was a hostage. They've taken many Americans with some kind of pretense and held them as hostages, and everyone who got out says they were treated well by North Korean standards. Now, treated well by North Korean standards is still terribly. The doctors didn't find any signs of trauma in his body. If I had to guess, I would guess he was driven into self-harm. The point is, when you have a hostage, like any criminal, you want to make sure you could give that hostage back in exchange for your ransom. So the fact is, things obviously took a turn for the worse with him, and they're like, we got to get this body out of North Korea before we have a body in our hands. And that's exactly what happened. Right a week after he got back here, he was in a coffin. So that just tells you that they are not crazy, they are evil. They know what they're doing, and that makes them even more reprehensible.
Again, I'm just sitting back. As I start talking, I won't stop. This is all riveting just to get into the psychology of this place and the fact that they've got more land mass than the South, but the South is probably the most productive country in the world, has an incredibly high standard of living, and then just north, everything looks wasted. I'm told there are hardly any bugs or birds. They've eaten everything. Why doesn't communism produce this wondrous heaven? Look at Venezuela's collapsing into road warrior right now.
Right. During the 90s, when things really went bad for them, they even had polio overturned. The average height of a North Korean is 4 inches shorter than the genetically identical South Koreans. South Korea has the highest per capita at one point of all of Eastern Asia. North Korea has African-level GDP. So it's taken a lot of work for this evil family to take this proud people and destroy the entire country. And this did not happen overnight, and it's not going to end overnight either.
So this is like a vampire kingdom of a bunch of fat vampires running around torturing, raping, and murdering. I mean, it's just incredible.
And then when you see things like Al Jazeera running articles about how cute the traffic girls are in the capital city of Pyongyang, it's like, can you be any more delusional? Can you have any less...
Why is there leftist defense of North Korea? I even see New York Times articles that kind of cutesy and say nice things about it.
I can't even, Alex, God help me, I can't even begin to wrap my head around it. You know, again, being born in the Soviet Union, the idea that anyone can find anything kind of admirable about this country and what they're doing to the children, not having children have food. You can't even begin to wrap your head around that psychology. All you have to do is just Get thee behind me, Satan, is my approach to that.
And let's talk about how he likes to kill even members of his own family.
Right. So when Kim Jong-un took over for his father in 2011, Kim Jong-il's sister, Kim Hyong-wi, was behind the scenes guiding things. Kim Hyong-wi is so wicked, she drove her own daughter to suicide because her daughter married someone of a lower social class, right? So when he took over, that was her husband that was killed. He was not killed by dogs. That's a myth. But look at how the corporate media gets it wrong. You heard all those stories that he got his uncle eaten by dogs, and it's like, look how crazy North Korea is, look how crazy North Korea is. It's not that someone was eaten by dogs, it's that someone who was like third in line of the government was executed overnight without cause. Can you imagine if, President Trump had a Secretary of State executed out of nowhere? It would be psychotic. It would not make any sense. Yet that is the norm in this most evil of countries.
Well, if people want to go down this rabbit hole, they can just search engine North Korean labor camps. But the sickest part is juxtaposing it, Kim Jong-un's women, and all these women dressed in white all around him. And they're all manicured and dressed in Western style. They've all got Western apparel. And then you see, babies being eaten by rats, or them telling families in forced labor, go ahead and eat your child. And then they do eat their child. And then you look at the eyes of the guards. It's like they're demon possessed. It's like they're jack-o'-lanterns. It's like some evil spirit is feeding in North Korea.
They are explicitly told, the guards are, enemies of the leader are not human beings. And there's one story in these labor camps when a woman was raped by the guards. Well, you're not allowed to have sex with the guards, so she was punished. They ran her over with a truck, amputated her legs, and then she had to push herself around on a tire to still fulfill her work quota. That is how reprehensible it is in the camps. Also, they have family punishment. So when your family goes to the camps, and let's suppose you kill yourself, your family has to fulfill your quota. So even death is not escape from the leadership of this horrific regime.
And for those that don't know, they have restaurants in Denver and New York and London celebrating North Korea, celebrating China. And it's a form of sick cuckolding. It's like people in the lap of luxury, the lap of freedom, are almost like begging to open the gate of hell.
Yeah, when you go there and you see these people, and what I did, being an obnoxious New Yorker, I would wave at everyone, get right in their face. Because when you do that to someone, the reaction is going to be sincere. They're going to be taken aback. And you'd see grandmas with their grandkids doting over them. Teenage girls would giggle and cover their mouths. The teenage guys who thought they were too tough for school with their tracksuits would just stare at you and glare you down. But their reactions were so normal. And you realize communism can't turn people into robots. If they could, it would work. But so what you have is 24 million prisoners who are desperately trying to live normal lives in the most abnormal country on earth. And that's why I'm so honored that I get to talk about this, to give people understanding, and why I wrote my book, so people can get this is not something to take lightly.
This is what happens once you go into collectivism. Just evil rises. It's not about ingenuity. It's not about work. It's all just about barbarism. Michael Malice, you've written a lot of best-selling books. They know how to Google your name. You can see satellite photos. Only, 2 towns have power. And then you see the South, it's all lit up like a Christmas tree just to show the deindustrialization. But you've got gigantic huevos to go into a place where they routinely, as you know, kidnap and kill people. Why did you do this?
Because I had to, because someone had to do something about this. Because it was, as a Jew, as a Russian, those are 2 chances for my family to have been taken to a camp in the middle of the night. And the biggest place where that's still the case on earth is North Korea. And I said, by golly, I'm going to do something about this. Because after a while, as a writer, you want to give back and kind of make a difference. And if I'm moving the needle a little bit over there, that is a huge opportunity for positive change on this earth.
I'm just so ashamed of humanity. I feel guilty for North Korea. I think that's what you just said. We're not like liberals here, like trying to find guilt. I just can't help but feel guilty when I've got this great life in this great country to see people living like this. And then I see people making jokes about it. I want to smack them in the face.
Right. And what you also see a lot of times is some of these neocons who don't understand and be like, they're threatening us. We should just bomb them to oblivion. I'm like, yeah, real tough guy. You're bombing 24 million slaves. That's the real moral.
Who have no internet, no TV. They believe the propaganda. The children are taken at birth in the lower caste. They don't know where they are. And they believe since the last war, when over 1 million of them died in the north alone, that they're waiting for this. And they've got, what is it, 100,000 pieces of artillery aimed at Seoul? I mean, let's talk about war scenarios here.
Well, I mean, Alex, it's a nightmare scenario. People, you know, you hear in the press is like, what if they're going to nuke LA? Right now, even if they didn't have nukes, which they certainly do, right now, they can send so many missiles into Seoul, South Korea, population 10 million, just south of North Korea. I don't even want to imagine that visual of missiles hitting all these skyscrapers. It would be like the film Independence Day, but for real, the horrors of that are unfathomable. And they boast explicitly that if we're going down, we're taking down as many people with us as we can. So people who are just like...
Why don't their elites get with Kim Jong-un and say, let's work with the West, let's make a deal, bring wealth in? I guess they just love the power and they're too cowardly. They're such pig demons. Well, I look at these fat little demons, There's two reasons. Kim Jong-nam, the eldest brother, wanted to liberalize, and Kim Jong-il said, if you want openness, open a window. We're Korea. What worked for China won't work for us. So that's one of the reasons why he was passed over for Kim Jong-un. But also, if you look at Romania, Iraq, Libya, and many other such dictatorships, when these regimes go down, the people at the top are personally tortured and murdered with good reason. That's right, like Ceausescu.
Yes. So if Kim Jong-un lost his control and power, certainly someone would and should put a bullet in him. So that's a big reason for him to do whatever he can to maintain that hold.
Yeah, we should do a whole show sometime on the fall of Ceausescu. They had power for the whole country, but he only liked his little city in a city having it. So he'd turn everybody's power off at nighttime. I mean, it's just these people.
And one of the greatest moments that you will ever see as someone who loves freedom, if you go on YouTube and look up Ceausescu's final speech, he would give speeches, everyone had to cheer or else, you know, they're going to get you. And this is the first time the audience in 40 years or something like that started booing him. And you see the look on his face when he turns and he realizes the jig is up. And I think within a week later, him and his evil wife were shot.
And that's because his own military was ready to kill him.
Yeah, but Kim Jong-un, it's not the same way. They are loyal to the leader, and that makes it even harder to imagine an endgame there.
Well, I know this. I'm not looking for a war, but the left openly wants a civil war. I think we've already entered the first levels of it, from Johnny Depp to Madonna saying kill the president to Kathy Griffin. And they're the most unmilitaristic wimps trying to start a war with the ghost of George Washington. I feel sorry for them if they actually kick this thing off.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, yeah. The other side has all the guns. You know, don't bring a decapitated head to a gunfight. You're not going to win, Kathy Griffin.
So is it a coming of age for the left? They're all say they're anti-violence, but they want it offensively. I mean, they're so pathetic and childlike. Well, why do you think they're just running around talking about murder and frothing at the mouth?
Because I think when you start talking to each other and have an echo chamber, you have to try to outdo each other. You know how like in stand-up or improv, the first rule is yes and, you have to build on the other person's joke, right? So they're trying to outdo each other in virtue signal to show their contempt for the president, to be like, well, I want him to be impeached. Oh, yeah, well, I want him to be shot. And they don't realize how this comes off to even regular liberal people who might believe in a social state.
Yeah, I want his supporters killed.
Yeah, right. And that's why the moderates are going to Trump, because it's like, listen, I disagree with the guy. I don't want you making fun of his son. I don't want you,
it only makes you love Trump more. Michael Malice, the book, Dear Reader, available in bookstores everywhere. Michael Malice. Please don't get it on Amazon. He's a globalist, folks. Get it somewhere else and support independent press in this country. Michael Malice, you're amazing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Alex. Great pleasure.
Wow, powerful. Okay.